Swapanji did, and what we have been saying in the morning, there is a clear trust quotient which the NDA has, especially when it comes to this youth voter. There was this discussion which direction the youth vote go in, how would they express their position. I think that trust has been expressed in the leadership of the NDA, and that's coming out clearly in where the
four elections
migrant voter
after the 2024 setback for the NDA, and in those three, you've seen a sweep literally for the NDA.
Haryana,
and that,
Maharashtra.
Yes, and Delhi, of course. The only state was Jammu and Kashmir, where in Jammu they did fantastically well. In Kashmir, they couldn't sort of make those as inroads as they were hoping to. But Zaka, that's significant, isn't it? The fact that another very critical election in the Hindi heartland, where this particular alliance had stumbled in 2024, even the heartland now responded.
No, I think it's also the BJP's way of saying that 2024 general elections were a blip. There was something that went wrong. It did, and that's why they came down to 240 from 303. But now it's
all those problems.
Yeah, now they have responded to those problems.
They've learned those lessons and they've attended.
Well, keep watching YouTube. Your viewership has really counted on a day when we are counting sentiment across the board. So thank you very much, viewers, for staying with us. But Zach, I just want to come back to you because you're the data care, and I want to ask you a couple of questions fundamentally. Where is that vote, that woman vote, going in those constituencies that matter?
No, it's overwhelmingly going to the NDA. I mean, out of 124 seats, which is half the Vidhan Sabha, half the state, where women have outvoted men by 10%, it's going overwhelmingly in favor of the NDA. Look at this, 97 out of those 124. And these, mind you, are pickups from 2020. 24 of those are pickups from 2020. So if you were to go by just the 2020 results, then this number, instead of 97, would be about 73. And that perhaps would have made a difference, because this is going all across the different regions of Bihar, and particularly a cluster of these JDU seats. Even in that, if you were to break up and see which of the parties are leading, the BJP has 43 out of those 97, the JDU has 41, the LJP 10, and these women, particularly in the second of polls, whether it's in the northern part, in some parts of Simanchal, here in Trihut as well, here in the eastern part of the state, they've ended up winning a lot more seats compared to 2020. You want to replicate this map from 2020? Just go back and look at the 2020
in the Anga region,
in these same seats, and look at the NDA.
Zaka, even in the Anga region, which is the southern region on the eastern side, you have a few of the NDA seats, BJP seats opening up. You also have JDU seats there. That's very interesting, because that suggests that even traditional voters of the RJD, perhaps even amongst the Yadav women, are not sticking to caste. They are going for something different. And you can see most of that even in Simanchal, Zach. If you look very closely, there are now blips of orange. There you can see it in that central corridor of Simanchal. And it comes down to the Anga region, and you can see those gains.
And look at this thing for the JDU, the large number of seats that the JDU has got in this pocket, and a large number of seats that the BJP has got in this pocket.
So you're talking about the Kosi Mithilanchal belt.
This belt again. Here the JDU seems to have done well, and here the BJP seems to have done well. But I think...
So when we categorize Mahilas in our data bank, what do we mean by this? Are we saying that...
these 124 constituencies, let me go back to the original. In these 124 constituencies, the women have outvoted the men by 10%, which means for every 10 male voters, there were 11 female voters. So there's one extra voter.
Given the fact that there was actually an extra voter this time, or two maybe, in some places, more than men. This is not just turnout, this is absolute numbers.
These belts, where the women dominated, it seems to have gone overwhelmingly in favor of the NDA.
Nalin.
When we're looking at turnout figures and juxtapose them with stronghold seats, you look at JDU strongholds, and by stronghold I'm defining them as seats which the parties won for the three times in a row. In BJP strongholds and in JDU strongholds, the turnout percentage has been much higher in terms of the ratio of that compared to RJD strongholds.
So is there now a degree of disaffection or fatigue with the message that the MGB was putting out, or with the leadership itself?
But is there a message that they put out?
Well, I mean, look, at one level they were focusing. I mean, let's be honest. It's not as if Bihar is streaked ahead on certain parameters. No, so we should be honest about that.
But there was
and their message was that, look, we can create the jobs that haven't been created in 20 years.
But the message was, we are not Nitish, and we are not Modi. But there was no credible plan. The point is that they were
highlighting a deficit. Yeah. Now, why haven't people...
I've got a point to make on this, that if you look at, and let's look at this seriously. If you look at the promises the Mahagathbandhan was making, they were making even more promises than the NDA, right? And it would have cost them about 60,000 crores. 36,000 crores is the cost of the promises that the NDA has made. The problem with that kind of messaging is that it's just Me Too messaging. There was no coherent vision of a development of a state development. You were saying that, okay, these guys give you this, I'll also give you this, a little bit that. But there was also a memory of Jungle Raj that came back. So in that, and also I think this alliance is not a coherent alliance in the way that the NDA alliance came together. The Congress and the
you were asking about the stronghold seats. So
yeah.
The JDU at its worst performance last time, they had 43, out of which 24 seats they've never lost in the last 3 elections. 21 of those 24 seats the JDU has managed to retain. So which means that's almost a 90%, 90 plus strike rate. So 21 out of 24, of which 20 are JDU, 1 to the BJP, which means that this party has come back literally almost from the brink, because last time, you know, they were down to just 43 seats. This time they've come up to, right now if you look at the state, they're currently the single biggest party. The last time I checked, they were at 74 and BJP at 73. So 75 and 73. So which means that not only does Nitish Kumar get another term, but I think the JDU from 43 to 75, that's a significant, it's the biggest gainer of this election.
Let's have a look at these swing seats, because that gives you an idea of really the switches that have taken place, if at all. So let's pull out the swing seats, because there were about 53, if I'm not mistaken, Zach, that were settled by 2%. There was a difference there. So let's have a look at those swing seats, because they give you an idea of transference. So if a particular mandate is turning, it's the swing seats that will give you the best idea of just how much the mood has changed.
We were also talking about it in the morning. I think one of the reasons why the alliance did not work was because the two principal parties, the RJD and in this case the Congress, were hell-bent on two different issues. The RJD kept talking about unemployment and youth and migration and so on, and the Congress, you know, chose to make SIR the biggest issue. And if you look at the SIR, it's had very minimal impact. Look at that again. I mean, if you were to go back to the overall state, out of the 106 seats where the SIR impact was felt most, the NDA had 78, which means that, look, find these documents that the Election Commission is asking, but once that issue is settled in September, then no one was talking about the SIR. The SIR was not a matter of concern, because I have got my voter ID, I have my name in the list, and I can go and vote.
So right? Many people were saying, I think it was Nistula who was making that point, that perhaps this was done to detract attention from Tejaswi itself, because there is a sort of internecine competition. Is that what really happened?
Yes, through the Voter Adhikar Yatra, a lot of the crowds it was being seen was, of course, generated by the RJD, which has a cadre in all these areas. And before the Gandhi Maidan final, it seems the father and son, Lalu Prasad Yadav, Tejaswi, had a heated conversation, and he told him that the father told him that it's not your job to make sure that Rahul Gandhi is a leader. You have to ensure that you remain the leader. So at the Gandhi Maidan, the final Congress guys were there, but very few RJD. They didn't turn up. He didn't turn up. And then directly after that, he set off on his own yatra. Tejaswi set off on his own yatra, and there were no other allies who travelled with him.
I've got an alert. This is again related to the elections, but we're now trending not just on YouTube, but we're trending #1 on Twitter. We're the most watched Indian channel now on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram Live. And of course, we said in this morning that we are #1 on YouTube as well.
It's the guests.
Also because of our guests.
It's the guests.
Also because of our guests. So we're leading in all social media platforms now. So wherever you're watching, thank you viewers for reposing your trust and your faith once again in India's #1 election destination, that is CNN News 18. Yes.
Yes. I would like to make a point, Zakir.
Yes.
We are referring to trust. And I think this election is also about the trust quotient which we have been talking about since morning. There have been a galore of promises made by different political parties. And this result indicates that the trust in the promises made by the NDA is something which seems to have appealed to the people.
Much more.
For two reasons. One, the performance of the government in the last 5 years, especially when it came to the Mahila vote, it's not just about that 10,000, but what was done by the party earlier. And secondly, in the case of the
BJP, it was also about the 10,000. A lot of people will say that you got 10,000 into your account in September with the promise of perhaps more. You know that
I'm also, before that 10,000, there was a lot that was done for women.
Yes, of course. Stage of a woman's life. Through intermediate, right up till the time she got married and beyond.
The program.
That's right.
And the number of people who benefited from that. And secondly, in the case of the BJP, their projection of what they are doing in the other states and at the national level. I think both these factors led to this trust quotient.
You may underestimate the power of the woman vote. A large number of men are outside of the state. They are the remittance